Welcome to A Lawyer's Guide to the Galaxy, a podcast about geek culture by lawyers with your hosts, Ben Siders and Kirk Damon.
Welcome back to A Lawyer's Guide to the Galaxy, the podcast that asks interesting questions that don't have any answers. With your host, Ben Siders, that's me, and the other guy, Kirk Damon, is not here, and I don't have a recording of him to use, so just imagine him saying that's Kirk as in the captain of the Enterprise. We are intellectual property lawyers and certified geeks practicing law in St. Louis, Missouri. You can find me, Ben, on Twitter at Benjamin Siders. You can find Kirk at KirkDMN. You can follow this podcast at LGGPod. And all of this information is on our website, lggpodcast.com. We are doing something a little different today with our episode. Well, everything's been different recently because of this COVID thing. And recording this on Monday, May 4th, Kirk already recorded some other content that I'm going to mix in, which has been how we've had to do these for the last week or so. But, we're seeing some parts of the economy start to reopen, so hopefully this content won't be needed for much longer. But what we're trying to do is get you just some ideas of things that Kirk or I, at least, are finding interesting and helpful to pass the time, and that you, as geek members of our geek audience, of our geek podcast, may also be interested in. So I'm going to intermix both some of my thoughts with some of Kirk's, and we'll try and keep this each piece relatively brief so that if you're bored to tears by any one topic, another one will be along after a few minutes. So I'll start out. So I'm historically not a big TV watcher. If I've got spare time, I normally prefer to play a video game or maybe play my guitar or something like that. I bought a Fender American Performer electric guitar for myself for Christmas this year. I love it. It's not like their highest end guitar, but it's definitely more guitar than I need because I am not that good. But it's got like a vintage 1970s headstock. It looks really slick. So I absolutely love this guitar. So I play that every chance I get. In fact, here I'll throw a little ditty in here for you. So yeah, I learned to play when I was in high school, and I've picked it back up after 20 years. So everything I know about playing the guitar, I learned from 17-year-olds, and it's been really fun. But when I'm not doing that, my wife and I watch TV shows, and she loves dramatic series, especially things like spy thrillers, political thrillers. One of our favorite shows has been Homeland. We've watched that since it debuted. That show just concluded. So if you like spy thrillers, that one is excellent. It's got Mandy. Oh, I can't pronounce his last name. He's Inigo Montoya from The Princess Bride, and he plays like the director of the CIA in the series. So if you have trouble imagining that, just go watch it. It's amazingly well done, and he does a fantastic job. So Homeland, if you missed that one and you like political thrillers at all, it's excellent. We also, of course, living in Missouri, have been watching Ozark. It is about a cartel lawyer from Chicago who has a partner who's caught skimming off the top. I'm not spoiling anything. This happens in the first 5 minutes of the first episode. And then to sort of make up for it, he offers to launder the cartel boss's money through various business enterprises at the Lake of the Ozarks here in Missouri. If you're not familiar with the Lake of the Ozarks, it's the Osage River in southern Missouri, Ozark foothills, which was dammed up in the 1930s and then back flooded over 4 counties. If you look at a map of Missouri, it looks like a Chinese dragon. It's a very rural part of the state. If you've never been there, it's a really neat place to visit. It's gorgeous. It's a cool area. Long story short, it's an interesting show with a lot of good dramatic tension. Also, Jason Bateman is in it. He's excellent, funny, dry. And then Laura Linney plays his wife. Everything about it is extremely well done. We also watch Billions, which I think is on season 4 or 5. That stars Paul Giamatti and Damian Lewis, and is sort of these two and how their egos and their drive to quote unquote win at all costs winds up costing them everything that they really care about. An interesting show. I think it makes an effort to really get into the details of both, the practice of law and how these financial companies work. If you are interested in legal TV shows or Wall Street, or you hate Wall Street and want to see it portrayed in a negative light, check out Billions. Speaking of legal TV shows, my wife and I tried to watch Better Call Saul when it first came out. We kind of weren't gripped right away by it. It wasn't bad. It just really didn't sink its claws into us. But I have heard amazing things about it over the last several weeks. So we've started watching that again. We're only on like episode 3 or 4 of season 1, but coming back to it after a pause, I'm definitely seeing the merits of it. So we're watching Better Call Saul, enjoying it very much. But if you want to watch the best lawyer narrative ever made, then what you want is My Cousin Vinny. That is the best lawyer TV show or film ever made. There are no other correct answers. We're also watching Westworld, season 3, I think we're on. It's more of a sci-fi thriller show. It's kind of really gone off the rails of where the plot originally started, but not in a bad way. If you don't know the premise, there is a theme park where people could go and interact with what are called hosts. They're basically extremely lifelike and realistic androids that the guests basically just abuse for their own pleasure. The hosts eventually become sentient, realize that they've been abused all this time, and it's excellent. And finally, my wife and I have started watching Devs, D-E-V-S. Devs stars Nick Offerman, is sort of not the main character, but an important character, and it's sort of a sci-fi, almost a philosophical series. It's an 8-episode series on, we're watching it on Hulu, but I think it's on FX. Basically about a Silicon Valley tech company involved in quantum computing that invents a deterministic machine that can predict the future and project into the past. It's all really well done. There's a lot of heavy physics, a lot of heavy computing in it, but it's explained well enough in the process of the narrative that if you don't understand those things or don't really care about them, you can still get into the story because it's really a character-driven story.
Okay, I'm back. I think all of us are starting to feel the strain of quarantine and living alone. I don't exactly spend a lot of time on social media, but I was going to share a couple of my two favorite pandemic memes. So the one I encountered this morning, what is the eating situation? I actually like to cook. I actually worked as a chef for a couple of years. I worked as a baker actually for 1 year out of high school, and I worked as a chef for about 9 months out of college in a Middle Eastern restaurant. The lead chef was actually Afghani, so that was definitely where a lot of it came from. But he definitely he Americanized things, and he did a little more basic. But that was a lot of fun. But because of it, I've enjoyed cooking, and the biggest thing about it is I don't feel scared cooking. It doesn't bother me at all. So we've actually been, having a lot of fun. I've been having a lot of fun in the kitchen, partially because of the fact that I can now make meals where it's, hey, this is something I've got to touch every 10 minutes, for 10 minutes every, 2 hours. I'm here. I can do that. It's not something where, previously I had to do that on a weekend or it wasn't really available. But people are definitely talking about, hey, what about the weight gain? What about stuff like that? The nature of what it's like to be alone. And they commented about, pandas, which are generally solitary creatures, are known to eat for 12 hours a day. So they actually spend a huge amount of their time eating. And needless to say, I think a lot of people are also eating 12 hours a day, which of course is why this is called a pandemic. Yeah, that's a dad joke, but it's one of those things I still thought was actually funny when I happened to see it. The other one, Chuck Norris was found out to have tested positive for COVID-19. And as a result, of course, the virus was forced to spend 14 days in quarantine. So anyway, that's, for those of you who are old enough, you'll definitely get that. For those of you who are maybe a little bit younger and not sort of quite as familiar with the whole Chuck Norris thing, go watch a few episodes of Walker, Texas Ranger and you might understand.
Other stuff we're doing, I got a board game for me and my kids to play called Mice and Mystics. It's sort of a Dungeons and Dragons light, I describe it as. It's a miniature based combat game, but there's an exploration element. It comes with a storybook that you can kind of go through the plot. It's a really nice sort of basic introduction to lightweight role playing games for younger kids, and I'm playing it with my middle 3 kids who are 10, 11, and 12. So they're really enjoying it. If you're looking for a fun, different kind of game that has sort of the imagination and communal tabletop spirit of a role-playing game, but without all of the statistical depth of like a full-fledged RPG.
Okay, I'm back. I guess I got sort of one last segment to get into here. So one of the things that's been very interesting for me, my wife had the bright idea, and I think it was definitely a great one, that the day before we actually went into shelter at home and everything closed here, we went and raided the library. and ended up with a large pile of books. We were not the only person doing that, obviously. There were huge numbers of people there. I have the feeling like half the local branch of our St. Louis County Library is probably in people's houses right now. But hey, that's what it's for, right? But anyway, so yeah, we grabbed a lot of books. The kids grabbed a number of just sort of books that they like. My daughter's, reading the Wings of Fire series. I don't know if any of you guys know that. It's all about sort of dragons. My son discovered, as we've talked about previously on the show, the sort of Minecraft adventure books, which he had promptly went through all of them very quickly, and so he doesn't have any of those left for his class. And we grabbed a bunch of DVDs, and the principal ones we grabbed, Pokemon. So you guys know I play Pokemon Go. I've kind of given it up after about a year. The grind of it really started to wear on me, and I just was not that interested in doing it. But he's been very interested in it. I mean, he has Pokemon PJs, he has Pokemon shirts, Pokemon bed sheets, everything. There's more Pikachus in our house that I can shake a stick at. But what's been interesting is that his only experience had really been seeing Pokemon Go on my phone a little bit and then getting a few of the books. So he has a number of sort of the starter books for Pokemon. He has like a field guide to, understanding them all, which I also found very useful when I was playing the game. But we got Indigo League, the original sort of Pokemon. I guess it's the first season of it. I do understand that there's also sort of two conflicting storylines. Indigo League sort of starts one of the two storylines. There is a second storyline, but I think it's 7 DVDs worth of episodes. It's like 72 episodes. We are about halfway through it. We've been watching parts of them in the evenings. So what we do is we have a sort of family TV time. We have not watched much TV in our house prior to the current situation, but because of it, we have created sort of a family TV time in our house, and we get to pick, various people get to pick at different times what they want. But definitely one of the things that has been popular is the picking of Pokemon Indigo League. And in the course of doing that picking and that stuff in conjunction with it, we've been watching the initial Pokemon Indigo League. So it's been very interesting. I mean, I used to watch a lot of animation based on Japanese animation. When I was a kid, I watched Robotech. I watched Transformers, G.I. Joe, sort of that style of kids animation. What's been very interesting, obviously, watching Pokemon DVDs is you really notice the fact that, it can be very repetitive. It can give you a lot of, you can spend a 20-minute episode, a 27-minute episode, 10 minutes of it can be a recap. And, breaks from the cartoons. It's becoming a running joke of, which, they always ask you, which Pokemon is this? And it's always the one that was just introduced. So it's kind of a running joke in the family now. But it's been very interesting to watch it. And we've commented about it. It's surprisingly good. Even my wife has commented, and she doesn't like stuff like this. The text on it is surprisingly good. It's a pretty good story. It's actually reasonably interesting. I understand now why there's sort of so much enjoyment from it for people that definitely grew up with it, that would have grown up with it in the same way that, I enjoyed Transformers. I still sort of enjoy watching the Transformers TV show. I have it on DVD and things like that. So it's one of those where it's been very interesting. We have really enjoyed it. Even I started getting into the, wanting to see who are they going to introduce next? Who are the Pokemon that are coming? Can Ash actually win, a battle sort of, straight up? But that's been a lot of our watching. The other thing we have become addicted to, The Masked Singer. Got started on it because it came on before Lego Masters, and we were watching a lot of Lego Masters. If you guys didn't watch it, I would highly recommend watching Lego Masters if you can get it on one of the streaming services or something like that. It's a great show if you're at all into Lego, and some of the stuff that they make is utterly amazing. So anyway, I did want to mention that. But yeah, we've really enjoyed The Masked Singer. I've been getting a huge kick out of seeing who is unmasked and who they are, what they are. And so anyway, those have been sort of our big things. But I definitely want to mention the Pokemon one just because I think it's so funny that, it's a pervasive sort of social thing. It's one of those things that I was a little bit too old for it. I did experience the collectible card game. I was hugely into Magic when the collectible card game came out for Pokemon. I still have some first edition cards from it because it sort of intrigued me and I knew it was a big deal, but I was a little bit too old. Like I said, I was more Transformers and G.I. Joe, but it's one of those where it's been really interesting to sort of watch it now. And then we actually watched Pokemon 2000, the movie. We watched that a while ago. He picked that up previously. But definitely the one thing I'm having trouble with is sort of understanding the interrelationship between the Pokemon, the idea of catching them, and how sort of the games interact with a lot of the TV shows. I think that's probably it for me this episode. We'll see if this format works. What you guys think of this format? Definitely feel free to leave us comments. If you can't stand me talking to myself, definitely tell us that as well if we need to interact. But like I said, something we try. We know we haven't been the best at getting content out to you for the last couple of weeks. We've had a lot of technical issues of just trying to figure out how to record content, how to get the two of us in the same place, and that was part of the idea of doing this was to say, hey, even if we can't be in the same place and we can't even necessarily be available at the same time, we can at least do some recording in the fact that we would normally do it. I will leave you with that. I'll turn it back over to Ben, and hopefully I'll talk to you next week.
And then one last thing I've been doing, I did one of these for Easter. We did a treasure hunt, something I used to do for my kids all the time, and I haven't done as much lately. But for their Easter baskets, I set up a treasure hunt that basically required them to run up and down the stairs all over. Treasure hunt's the one where you give them a clue, and that clue leads to the next clue, and then they find that clue, and it leads to the next clue, and et cetera, and et cetera. So I spread these all over the house. It took me like 2 hours to write the clues and hide them all, and it took them about 8 minutes to finish the whole thing. But they got a lot of exercise in that 8 minutes, which they promptly undid by finding their Easter baskets and diving into the candy. But if you're looking for something different and fun that maybe your kids haven't done before and would enjoy, do a treasure hunt. You can do it in your own house, and really easy to write and set up. It takes a while, but your kids might love it. So that's it. That's all I've got. Those are some of the things that we've been doing. If any of those suggestions appeal to any of you, if you check any of that out and you wind up liking it, let me know. And likewise, if you've got any suggestions of things that you think Kirk or I should be checking out, don't hesitate to drop us a line and say so. That's all for today. We'll see you next time. Lorem, play us out.
The views expressed by the participants of this program are their own and do not represent the views of, nor are they endorsed by Lewis Rice LLC, its officers, directors, employees, agents, representatives, shareholders, and subsidiaries. None of the content should be considered legal advice. As always, consult a lawyer. This podcast was produced and recorded in St. Louis, Missouri.